Are you interested in real estate and you're not sure where to start? There's so many different pieces. Well, today I've got my buddy Kip here, and he's going to talk about RV parks as well as mobile home parks and some very unique strategies that he has implemented over 2021 for one of the best years he's ever had in real estate. We're going to share that with you today. So if this is your first time here, what's good? My name is Sam. For those of you who are returning, it's good to see you. Kip, how you doing, man? Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. I am so glad to be here. My Christmas is actually getting put off until January 15th when all family can come in. So we're kind of like, so it works out really well. And I thought it's funny because I was like, I want to give the gift to people of, there's a lot of gurus, there's a lot of people that talk about real estate, and but there's not a lot of people that see things the way that I do. And that's a really unique perspective. And I think if I'm going to make a suggestion, and I am this arrogant, you guys, if I am going to share this stuff with you, I would get a pen and paper. I really would, or unless there's a way to access this recording. I don't know if there is for you.
But this will be on YouTube, and we'll have Kip's information down below if anybody does want to reach out or watch the content that you put out that is very helpful. I saw something about your hero's journey the other day. But so let's start with like a project you worked on last year. I think we've talked a couple of times where you were working on a project in Georgia, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So how did you learn about that project? Like, how did that come about?
So I'm going to go into that first, but I want to tell people who I am in case you don't know me on either of these channels. I just want to give you my background because, Sam, what I have been a train wreck at is I've been told by people, stop with the philosopher, enigmatic, weird farmer dude thing and just let people know what you're about. And it's hard for me to talk about myself, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to swear. I promised myself I'd swear, and I would be very egotistical this conversation. So I wanted to let people know that my story is come from a messed up home. I'm not going to talk about that. Really damaged. Got myself out of that by going to college. Got 3 bachelors, got a master's degree all before I turned 21, which is badass. And then my mom got cancer, and I got to watch her die over 19 months. And during that time, I just was like, I am not going to work for anybody ever again. That was my decision. And that I stayed true to that. So I am now 33 years self-employed. But the way that honestly, you guys laugh about this, but this says something about my character, is I went to the library and read every book on how do people break out of their socioeconomic class? How do they make it? How do they do it? There's got to be some way to learn this. And there's stuff like, I read stuff on like, oh, you need to learn to sharpen saws, and home businesses and carve houses for bats and things like this. And I was like reading everything. And I came to my own notes. I read every book in the library was either invent something, which I'm not smart enough to invent a damn thing, not a thing, or alternatively start a company and sell it while I didn't have any money, or invest in the stock market. Again, I didn't have any money, or get involved in real estate. So that's what I did. And I started off in real estate, bought a house, bought the house next to it, bought the lot next to it, bought the house behind it, bought a fourplex, bought this. And I spent a lot of time doing sort of what we consider traditional real estate investing. So that took me to where I would say I put in the 10,000 hours and dubbed myself an expert at this. And it's in my blood. It's something that is so passionate for me that I live, eat, and breathe it. And from that standpoint, I'm now way past that. And I want to show you guys what it's like to do stuff that is so far outside of the box, because I've got some ground rules. Here's what I have. I've got these premises that I want to teach you, how they applied to the deal that I was working on, and how you can use them. And I've got 4 sections like that I'd like to go into. So I can start.
Let's start with the deal, and then how those apply to the deal. So how do you find the deal, and can you tell us about the deal before you got into it, and then we'll walk through the process of acquiring it.
So the first thing is that what this gets to is with this one is I'm going to call this premise that I want to teach you guys is this: it's get your fucking hands dirty. Get your fucking hands dirty. There's too many of you guys that are on the internet that think, oh, well, I'll just search this website and then I'll find something and it'll magically come together and I'll magically find property managers and it's all going to come together. I don't like competition. I don't want competition. And so for me, that involves getting my fucking hands dirty. This was some weird post that somebody sent me from a mom and pop shop sending me a Facebook post that they had posted that they might be selling their park. Okay, So what I want to share about that is, okay, so I found a park, and my first thing, I won't get into this other premise yet, but it's hey, if you write stupid shit on my thing, I'm going to ban you. If somebody wants to ban people, go ahead. Or I don't know how to do that, but we'll figure it out.
What was the size of the park? Like, what was the details of the park, real quick?
Okay, so here's what I found. Is it said, hey, this is a great investment opportunity, $500,000, blah, 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 blah. So me, because I get my hands dirty, I start looking into it. The first thing that I do before I do anything is I call the county. And I found out if the county is cool with what's going on or if they're going to spank you down. Because so step one, you guys, is make sure that the government likes what you're going to be doing or likes what's happening there. Because if not, you're never going to win. You can fight and try to get variances and zoning variances and all this stuff, but you're not going to win. And they're like, oh yeah, that's been established for 60 years, something like that. But here's the thing. Let's talk about title. There were 18 parcels to buy a mobile home park. I'm used to one. 18 owned in a whole bunch of other people's names.
And they were trying to sell you the entire bundle of 18 as a package.
Yeah.
So that process, for anybody who's not familiar with real estate, tell them like why that's a fucking pain in the butt, because you have 18 different titles, 18 different deeds that you got to clear. You got to do searches on every single one of those, and then you have to coordinate the closing all in one day.
Now here's where it gets a lot worse than that, and this is where get your fucking hands dirty really applies, because I could have seen that, and I honestly believe that 99 out of 100 real estate investors would have seen the complexity of this, especially regarding title, and they would have walked away and they would have said, no, I can't get near this. And here's why. There was entire parcels that had been acquired in 2004 via tax sale. Well, when you buy something at a tax sale, you get a special tax deed. You don't get a warranty deed. A warranty deed says, we've searched this title all the way back and they've definitely got the right to sell it to you. Everything's great. It's unencumbered other than what's disclosed. You're good to go. But on a tax sale, they just go, okay, dude didn't pay his taxes, so you get it. But listen, there may still be liens on this. There may still be stuff like that. You're going to have to deal with that. Well, 2004. Meanwhile, 2008 hit, and these tiny little rinky-dink banks that lend on this had gone out of business.
So sorry to interrupt. If I have a question, I'm just going to interrupt you. Like, hey, okay, so tax sale, because that's similar to a deal that I'm working on right now. But from my understanding, if I get control of the property through that and I pay the taxes, there are other liens on there I can effectively negate through that process. So you should be concerned.
IRS liens survive that?
Pardon?
IRS liens survive that
process? Yeah, just taxes. Yeah, just taxes, right? Yes.
So if you bought it on a tax sale and you go, oh, that wipes everybody else out. Nope, that's not correct. You could still have IRS tax liens. You could have, how about this? You could have a lender that lent $100,000 on the property or whatever, and it never recorded a deed of reconveyance, which removes their debt from the property. And so now you go, okay, I'm pretty sure that's been paid off, but I don't know. And it was 2004. Here we are freaking 18 years later. Okay, what risk do I have to do? Which means you have to begin what's called a quiet title action. And that is a legal process of advertising it out and saying, if anybody knows who this bank is, step forward and tell us that you have a debt because we don't think you do. And then you go through the whole court process and quiet the title so that when you actually take it, you can do that. Most people wouldn't pay to quiet a title on a property that they don't own.
Because that's for the legal process you're familiar with, I'm sure. I'm not, and I'm going through learning this. But you hire a lawyer to basically post with the court, and then they have to like post it in a newspaper or something along those lines for X period of time. And if somebody comes forward, it's like, yeah, I'm the fucking bank, and I put $100,000 on there. So you're going through this with all these 18 different parcels. Is that right? Mm-hmm. But not all of them, only the ones that are related to tax. Transfer.
Now you also have boundary issues where it looks like some of the actual surveying was not done correctly, where it's like, oh, we think the boundary's here. Well, we think it's here, and having to clean that up. Most people, again, would quit. My answer is get your fucking hands dirty, because this is where the money is made, is the guy that's willing to take on all that stuff and keep working through it. So it took, and I'll tell you the rest of the story, it took 3.5 months for me to get title cleared. the whole time. I'm the cool guy. I'm like, yeah, don't worry about it. No, no problem and everything. No, it's great. Don't worry about it. No problem. It's okay. Everything's great. You know, everybody else would have tapped out and run and gone, oh my God, I'm terrified of this. Well, let's flash forward to the end of this. What I bought, because of all the screwiness on the taxing, is I ended up getting an extra 2.5 acres. So I got 20 acres and a mobile home park, 20 acres in Georgia, that has the following. There's 16 mobile homes, of which, guess what? Again, here you go. When most people, because they're lazy, they would go, how much income do you think I was bringing in, or was the park bringing in off of 16 mobile homes? Take a guess.
Are you the owner of the mobile homes, or are they owned?
They're owned, and I'm buying this park, and they have 16 mobile homes. What do you think their monthly rent that they were getting was?
400 per month, 300 per month.
So that's a total of what?
400 times 10 is 4,000 plus whatever. 400 times 6 is another couple hundred. So whatever that comes out to be. Let me pull up the
Yeah, they were bringing in $1,200 total. You guys get it? $1,200 total is not a lot.
So let's just do it right now, and then we'll get back into the details, because I have other questions about the survey difference as well. Okay, so purchase price. What was the purchase price?
$500,000.
Okay, what is the value now? I'm assuming you've kind of stabilized it a little bit.
You want to jump right to the end? No, I've barely stabilized it, but it doesn't matter because I've just cleaned house. So yeah, jumping.
I want to talk about all the details, but I want to know what the numbers are at this point.
All right, then get a pen, because this is gonna rock you guys. This is the payoff on this. And I was told on TikTok to talk about myself, so here you go. I'm doing it. It's weird as hell, but I want to tell you about it. Why not? So what I want you to know is that when it's stabilized, the value right now, without me doing anything right now, so 3 weeks later is $950. So I've got $500,000 in equity right now. But the first thing that I'm doing is there are 20 RV spaces, and all of them are going to be filled in 2 weeks. Not only that, we're doing a splitter at the boxes, which creates 40 RV spaces. The 40 RV spaces, the going rate is $800 a month. So 40 spaces times 800 is an extra $32,000 a month. $32,000 a month times 12, and this is why you should be taking notes, is going to be called $360,000 in a year. Take off your 15-20% for kicks. So we'll call it 300. Why not? And then you go, so that adds on a cap rate of 10, give somebody a deal, adds a couple million, adds about $2.5 million to the value right there.
So you got $475,000 of equity because you decided to clean out all the bullshit related to titles, related to surveys, and now you're putting them at market and you're expanding the lots.
That's almost correct. The equity that I got comes from the extra land that I got by doing all of the work on it. Going, well, what's this piece? Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, so that's just getting all the extra titles that they didn't even know they had. So that was the money from the initial equity comes from that part of just the land value for the buildup. Now, if you were to do the difference between a cap rate, you guys should know if you don't know, and IRR, internal rate of return, is a lot of times an internal rate of return will take in the first year's appreciation. Well, if you take that into effect, by the end of our first year, we're going to be worth, because here's the other thing. So that's the 20 spaces for the RVs. They're actually 40. There's an additional 30 in the back that already have the electric water and water going to them, and all they don't have is the pad poured or the septic. So we're not building anything new, so we have no grief with the city, but I'm putting in another 30 RV spaces in the back, again doubling them up, which is 60. So that's 60 RVs plus 40 RVs is 100 times 800 a month. That's 80,000 a month. That's $1 million a year. Take it off, call it 800,000. The park's going to be worth 5.5 by the time I'm done with it. So so I bought it for 500,000. It's going to be worth 5.5 in a year. That's the kind of shit that I got to talk about.
So 800,000, what's a 12 cap rate or something? 14 on that? Is that what you're factoring? 800,000, 14 is 5.7. Okay, cool. Right, because if that's incredible. Like you go from 500,000. And what's going to be the investment on it? What's the CapEx on that?
The what's that?
What's the CapEx? Like, what's the investment on this? to get it up to speed. Plus, you probably spent maybe 10 grand on like lawyers and other fees throughout the process.
I bet I'll drop cleaning up some of the mobile homes, doing all that stuff. Because here's the other thing. So shock and awe. This is the other thing. The other thing that I do is that the park, the people that have been there for a long time, they're paying, the ones that are paying like $200 a month. There's no one even close to market rent. So the first thing that I've got is I've got a guy that I'm buying the equipment for, and he's going to grade the roads and drop gravel down and mow everything and cut down trees so that people are going, what's going on? And that's just a good place to let tenants know it's, and bringing in really super high speed Wi-Fi for the park. That's going to be cool. So I bet I'll drop 100 grand.
And because you've also got a couple pads, you said you needed to pour. Yeah. And like, so the details, 100 grand total. Okay. So you're going to have 600 in it, and you're going to have something around 5.5 when it's all said and done.
5.5 to 6.1. Yeah.
That's incredible. Thank you for jumping to the end of there. Okay, so go back to the, okay.
You tell people, hey, I just made a couple $1 million, and they're like, what? No. And it's like, yeah, but just grind through these impossible deals. Because what everybody I know, so here's your takeaway, you guys, if you're interested. What I see everybody doing in real estate is they go, oh, well, I'm going to check the LoopNet, or I'm going to check the MLS, and I'm going to check this. I found a house that everybody freaking knows about in an efficient marketplace that everyone's already picked over, and you're trying to make a deal out of it. And I don't want to do that. I want to find the complex, hard problem that I can make efficient and gain the equity, if that makes sense. Hope you guys get that. Hi, guys. Thank you for being here.
That's exactly, I talk about that all the time. Complexity scares people, and they don't want to get into that. Okay, so when you go through and you need to clear up a survey difference, you're just paying somebody to resurvey it and then compare it with the records, and then just, okay, well, this doesn't match up here, and then you just come to some conclusion so that everything's straight. Is that accurate?
Yep.
And so where are you at this point? So I know you purchased it, I think, couple months ago, 3 months ago, right? 4 months ago?
No, I think I closed 2 weeks ago, a little bit less.
Oh, I'm sorry. We've been just talking about it for several months.
Yeah.
As you mentioned. Okay, so what's the first step for you in this process?
Shock and awe. The first thing I have to do is I have to get everyone's head straight, because if there's people there that are not savory, because I'm changing it from what I would view to be a class B- park into a class A park. And so part of that is the first thing is beautifying. That is not a Payline activity. And so I would caution you, don't do non-Payline activities. But this is a special circumstance that I need people looking outside and going, oh, stuff is different now. So that's cutting down trees, mowing stuff, trimming stuff, all the weeds back, really going through doing a whole bunch of cleanup so that people go, wow, what's going on, and improving the look. So it's the broken window theory in reverse.
Okay, two things on here. Pay activity or Payline or whatever. Can you explain that for people who don't know? And then second, can you tell people where you're located physically, so that to show them that, like, even if it's a complex deal and it's not across the street from where you're living. So first of all, Payline, and second of all, where you're located and how this.
Yeah, sure. I mean, so the first thing is Payline activities. The first thing you would normally do is you would kick out deadbeat tenants and you would raise the rents, because those are going to actually add to your bottom line. But let me be blunt. There's only 16 mobile homes. I don't really give a shit about that money, because I'm going to go for the RVs. So the two things that I'm doing simultaneously is getting rid of the deadbeat people, which is what you should do, getting the rents stabilized where they're supposed to be. But more importantly is hammering these RVs, bringing the RVs in as fast as possibly true, or as possible. And then the next, but my cleanup in the park is for people to go, wow, they've redone all the roads with gravel. That looks really nice. Wow, they've cut all the grass. Wow, okay. And it attracts the right kind of mentality, the right kind of people that we want to be living there. Because this is legacy. This is just something I'm going to own forever. I'm not going to ever sell this or anything. It doesn't, I don't need the income from it, but it's going to be cool to have,
And where are you located?
Oh, sorry. And I'm in Portland, Oregon. So, and this property is in Waynesboro, Georgia. So I'm a little far away.
But talk about that for a second, because a lot of people believe that you need to, and I'm not saying it's a bad idea, it's a great idea for a lot of people, but you don't necessarily need to be where you're located. Can you talk about that for a second? And
Yeah, sure.
maybe it even ties into one of your 4 points.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, here's the thing. You want to talk about patience, which does go into one of my other things. But I've been looking around for an RV park or a mobile home park in the Pacific Northwest for 3.5 years and found nothing. Too efficient. These are parks selling at a 4% cap rate. I can't make any money on it. I put an offer on one, got kind of this repo thing, and their new debt service was 1.1. And I wrote them an offer saying, hey, I'll give you 1.6, and saying, hey, you just got it. You can be out from under it, make $500,000. That sounds good. They countered me with like 3.3. And so I'm like, I cannot make any money in this area. It's just not working. It's too efficient, And so the one thing I did is I have so much video footage of everything. In fact, check this out. This is why it was important. So my guy on the ground videoing everything, I'm like, stop, turn right. What is that? Look down, look up. Okay, let me make notes. Going through everything, just being my eyes and ears. As they were going through, I said, hang on, stop, because they were driving. And they go, what? And I go, stop the car. What is that over there? And the prior owner goes, oh yeah, I ran electrical and water. Those are actually RV spaces. I forgot about that, but they don't have the pad poured or the septic. And I'm like, okay, you're handing me I know, you're handing me $50,000 a month and you just forgot. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, so anyway, so no, if you get your team together and you get all that stuff, you don't have to be where the property is. That's silly. I may or never visit it.
I might. Well, who are a couple of the important players that you need on a team?
Yeah. So, I mean, for this deal, here's what's interesting. And this is where I would be taking notes. What everybody says is, oh, I'll have a property manager and I'll contract out with the guy that does the grass, and I'll contract out with someone to do the snow, and I'll contract out with someone who does this and this and this, and you will go broke. You will absolutely go broke. So what I did is I talked to all the tenants, and I talked to a guy, and I'm not going to say his name, but this guy is older than dirt, really, really nice guy, has Confederate flags all over his trailer everywhere and all that, guns lying everywhere, has like 30 guns like within feet. But he was really honest. He's like, well, I want to fill out your new application as a new tenant. Do you have one of those? And he's like, and I'm like listening, he's proactive. He's already asking, he's like, yeah, that'd be great. And then I listen, because I listen to everything that happens. This is part of that get your hands dirty. A lot of you would say, I don't want to talk to a tenant. I don't want to get it at that level. Yeah, you do. Because it turns out, what did he do before he moved into this park 14 years ago? Oh, he managed the prior park that he was in. Oh, so I've got a big burly 6'3" guy who doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, doesn't use drugs, who's one of the nicest people in the world, but he's now my eyes and ears on the ground. He's going to be the guy who's going to be the people that can't pay rent digitally or haven't figured that out, that he can collect it from them. And it was great conversation. He pays $375 in rent. Can you imagine? And he got hurt. And so he's like, I'm really working on my disability. I'm not sure how this is going to play out. And I was like, yeah, man, here's the thing. I need your rent to be a lot different. It's going to change a lot. And he was like, yeah, I figured. It's okay. I'll make it work. And I go, I don't want it to be $375 anymore. And he goes, yeah. I go, I want it to be $0. And I want to pay you. And he's like, what? And I go, yeah, I want to pay you. And I want to buy you the equipment. You drive around the tractor, you do the roads. He was like, sir, this would mean everything to me. This is amazing. So use your local resources. You will be so much cheaper buying somebody a tractor and paying them to be your eyes and ears and your property manager, picking up on what's going on, doing all that kind of stuff, rather than outsourcing this all to private companies. You'll go broke. So if you guys have questions, by the way, over here, go ahead and ask them. But yeah, local talent.
So from a systems standpoint, how do you set up for the leasing? Potentially still paper because he's going to be there, but collecting payments so that there's no cash involved.
No, it's not going to be. It's not going to be paper. There's actually automated things for bigger projects that you can just buy. I think my subscription is like $60 a month or something. And it does all of the leasing, all the areas, it'll generate the 3-day notice to pay or quit. It'll generate the eviction notices. It's all software. as a service, so it's subscription model. And then the only thing I have is I've got the guy physically to say, I do not want him to be the one that people don't like. I want him to be the one that just walks over and pushes it onto the door if I need to do an eviction. You know what I mean? That's between me and the tenants, not him. So yeah, it's really pretty straightforward. I don't actually believe, I'm going to say again, I would be writing this down if I were you guys. Not a fan of property management companies. Wow, that's different, because they want, if you think about it, they want to collect that 8%, and they want to do as little work as possible to do that. So when I pitched them with this, I've got a person that has been there $30,000 behind, have a furnished house. I contacted her and said, hey, if you will get out and leave all your furniture there, and I need it to be spotless, like better than a hospital. I need it to be absolutely perfect. Within an inch of its life, I'm not going to go after you for the $3,000. I'm going to let you slide. I'm going to let you go. But I need it furnished, and I need it left that way, because I've got another person who wants to move in right now and pay $210 a week, but he needs it furnished. Oh, well, that seems like a win-win thing. I pitched the property management company on that, and they went, oh, well, you know, there's a lot of risk involved in that kind of a thing, because, you know, if the place isn't clean, or if there's mites or bugs or anything. And I was like, fuck off. You know what I mean? So,
so you contacted several property management companies, I would assume.
I just wanted to see if I could make some headway. I can't, so fuck them.
Yes. So you'll be basically working with the local property manager gentleman that you were hiring to guide him along the way on anything that he needs help with, kind of thing.
But people can pay digitally. People do that all the time. And the other thing I wanted to, so here's another thing I would write down if I were you guys, is so many people in real estate go, and I'm going to ask you this question. Do you have the idea like, well, I want to have everything so set up, systems driven, everything. I don't want anyone to ever call my phone with a problem. That's a really common thing you'll hear in real estate. And I am the opposite. I actually literally answer my phone when anybody calls, no matter what, all the time, 24/7. I don't care, because if I'm getting stupid calls, that's a reflection of my life, that my systems are breaking down. But I want those calls. I want to know what's going on. I want to hear about that, because that gives me a chance to build a better system. But this thing, and I don't know who's teaching, and again, I don't follow real estate gurus, but I think they have this thing like, oh, you can do all this and you can be aloof and just sit back and watch the money roll. And I'm like, no. Get your fucking hands dirty. So that's a lesson from this park.
So you had mentioned there's several things at the beginning. There's 4 things that you found very valuable that you can share with people in terms of your strategy. The first being like actually take responsibility, right? Like get your hands dirty is your phrase. What are those other 3 pieces that you were like put together?
Let's turn to the second one for anyone who's new to investing. I'm going to call this one, what I see when people want to get into real estate. They want to buy something. They want to buy something in real estate. And that is the stupidest thing you could ever do. Because you're going into Vegas and going, oh, I want to gamble, which means you're probably going to get your ass kicked. You're probably going to lose everything. And there's a term that I had heard, which I like, called FOMO, which I'm sure it's been around forever, but it's this fear of missing out. And it's like, oh, I'm new to investing. I want to find something. I want to find something. So they talk to a realtor who's not an investor, goes, this is a good property. And they go, yeah, I got to get that. Someone could write an offer on it. And I go, there will always be another deal. So I live in the model, and this is our second lesson. First was get your hands dirty with the park. The second one is a different park that I was looking at that I want to explain about the reverse of FOMO over. Look for a reason to say no. So whenever I look at a deal, I am always trying to find the reason to say no. So this park was another one that was nearby. And oh shoot, I think I did something. Sorry guys, sorry about that. Anyway, this park was nearby. And they were like, hey, look, you're at a 10 cap and it's great and it's this and it's all this kind of stuff and everything. And how did I do? This is getting your hands dirty. I learned everything about the city. I watched the minutes from the city council meetings. I watched the videos of all the city council meetings. And I heard them arguing about, you know, the only thing going for the city is that we have X, Y, and Z. I'm not going to talk about those things. And if we do these things, We're not going to have those assets. People aren't moving here. We've got a blight situation. We've got problems on our hands. We're under. We need money coming in. We don't have it. What are we going to do? And it's a dying city. So I don't care what the story is with the park if the overall economy is dying. And I looked at the numbers. I looked at the income. I looked at which major corporations have come in and what's come out. I've looked at the growth patterns on the maps. I've looked at everything, and I get so like, how many of you guys would watch the city council meetings for a small city where you're interested in buying a property? I watch 4 hours of video.
Yeah, correct. Because you got to understand what you're actually buying. Yeah, that's a good point. And a lot of people don't want to go through the effort of actually, taking responsibility for all what you're doing to make sure what you're doing is going to be successful.
And the guy who writes the penalties for blight and your paint is falling off your house or you need to do that. The code enforcement guy got his information and asked him on his percentage of code enforcement over the years. Oh, people aren't repairing anything. They don't care. I don't want to be there. I don't care. And so,
plus it's not growing. Like, you don't want to be in that area. It's not growing.
Yeah, but the funny thing is you look at something, if you guys know anything about real estate and you saw something with a 10 cap, you would go, oh, I'm talking to Sam Stoll on a Zoom call. He wanted to do kind of a just interview thing or whatever this is called, a dialogue about this. So I'm talking to Sam. This will be available, and I'll put a link to it in my bio also, in case you want to see it, but you should be taking notes.
A 10 cap, when you say 10 cap in my mind, that's like a C quality, or, that in my mind, that's coming out like a C quality location, C quality asset.
No, a 10 cap is great. That's a 10% yield on your money. That's something that, in an efficient marketplace, stuff is going at a 3.7 cap, 4.4. If you get something where you're going to make 10% on your money, that's very attractive, for most people in real estate. But that would be this thing. Wow, it's a 10 cap. I should go buy that right now. No. You look into the whole, the bigger picture. The park is fine. The people there are fine. The city around it is dying. Don't want to be there. So that was my reverse FOMO. I looked for every reason to say no. That was my second example of a park I didn't go near. That one's short and sweet. If you have any questions about that, Sam.
Yeah, no, that's I'm listening and appreciate you and acknowledge you for sharing what you've learned over the years doing this for 30 years. It's interesting. I find that deal super, super interesting.
Okay, number 3 then. We'll go into number 3 because this one's cool. I don't like competition. This is the next thing. I don't like competition. So a lot of you guys are thinking really the wrong way about things. And I want to go through this. And I'm going to talk to this audience here as well. If I say to you, Sam, you can live in your luxury condo where you own the whole condo, the whole damn thing, all 30 floors, and you live on the top penthouse overlooking the Gulf Coast or Miami or wherever you want to be and everything. Would you like to do that? Where you're on the top floor and you own the whole thing?
It depends on the details, but yeah.
Well, you're worth $150 million and you don't care.
Yeah, probably would. Yeah.
Versus, you get to live in a house in Clearwater, not on the beach, kind of by the mall. Which one do you choose? And I'm not messing with you. You guys will see there's
I would probably choose the other one that I would prefer.
Right.
Yeah.
Now we go, okay, house in Clearwater, right? Versus an apartment complex that, there's dogs barking and it's kind of in a shady area. It's actually an old St. Pete that's not so nice. And Sam's from Florida, so that's why we're talking Florida talk. So which would you rather have, your own house in suburbia in Clearwater or living in an apartment where you've got paper thin walls? You'd choose the house.
Well, unless I own the apartment complex, it doesn't matter to me.
Just renting.
Okay. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
So now, would you rather live in that apartment or would you rather live in a trailer park, somewhere else that, again, you're renting, you don't own it?
Yeah. It doesn't, it doesn't matter to me at that point. It doesn't.
But how about this? How about an RV that doesn't run, that's kind of broken, that you're now living in that space, or the mobile home that has at least more space? RV that doesn't work. It's an interesting question. You would choose?
Yeah, I would probably choose the one that's nicer. Yeah, for sure.
Now you guys listen to this. We've just determined in the hierarchy of desires, massive cool ass condo, overlooking the water. Okay, a house. Okay, well, maybe a mobile home. Okay, well, or an apartment. Okay, well, maybe a trailer. Okay, maybe an RV. And now I say this word to you guys, tiny home. And you all go, oh my God, and you lose your minds. A tiny home is a not running RV. You guys picking up what I'm laying down?
And the rules are different.
Here's the desire for a tiny home. Going right up like that. Here's the asset. We have a distance between what people think they want and what the asset actually is. That is a stochastic divergence that I haven't seen in real estate. So what I'm saying is people want to live in an RV that doesn't run. You picking up what I'm laying down?
So what you're effectively saying is that you see something where you believe that demand for the nomenclature small home is drastically higher than it is for the trailer park, RV, mobile home, whatever you want to call it. The demand, if you just change the nomenclature to tiny home, is drastically higher. There was a similar thing that I noticed with Airbnb 18 months ago, 2 years ago. There was a period of time where you could rent, and I haven't seen it since then, but for about a year, you could rent an entire place for a month, cheaper than rent in that area on Airbnb. So that gives you a tremendous amount of flexibility. It's furnished. A lot of times there's other amenities that you can use for cheaper than what you'd pay for rent on a long-term.
I think that still exists. Why do you think that doesn't exist? Because I just looked at Costa Rica to spend a month down there, and there's no way I'm going to stay in an Airbnb. I'm going to get an apartment.
It's not anymore. It's not anymore. It hasn't existed since I checked recently.
I don't know. I'm $800 for a month in Costa Rica by the beach.
Yeah, but Costa Rica is cheap. If you look at Airbnb, the Airbnb price is going to be $1,400.
The Airbnbs around there are $79 a night.
Yeah, so look at that over the course of a month.
Wait a minute, maybe we're saying the same thing. The apartment is cheaper than doing it by the night Airbnb, by far.
Yeah, correct. That's exactly what I'm saying. They used to be the opposite. It used to be the opposite of that.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I've always found that the longer term stuff is better if you can.
And that wasn't the case. That wasn't the case 24 months ago. 18 months ago, it was cheaper to do 30 days on Airbnb for a furnished apartment with other amenities, potentially like spices included, pots and pans included, for 30 days was cheaper. Like it was $800 and then versus $2,400 for a what's it called? A regular apartment. And that has changed. But that was what you're talking about is an efficiency in the market that other people are not recognizing, or you know what I mean, that it doesn't create the same type of awareness yet. So it's interesting that those awarenesses, when you have to be deep into something to see them and have built up intuition over time, but those are tremendous, can be tremendously valuable if somebody seizes those opportunities. And what's the last point you have on there for?
Well, I'm going to flesh this one out really quick and then we'll get the last one. So the thing is I don't like competition. So when I see something that everybody loves, tiny homes, but they're actually just RVs, I go, wait a minute, what do I do? And people don't think this way. So I have bought a farm, which is a retreat of mine for my community and all that, but we've been thinning out the trees and doing all this kind of cool stuff because there's no zoning and regulations. So I'm going to be able to put 25 tiny homes out there for an intentional living space with its own off-grid, everything cool, the stuff that I like doing right by Mother Earth, right? So all that hippy dippy stuff that I'm way into, doing it all right. And then you'd sit there and you go, okay, so people are paying $1,000 a month. So you go $25,000. I couldn't get that by bringing in a broken down RV. And yet here we are. My cost to build is nothing.
And so for anybody who's listening or watching, the rules and regulations on the square footage of a house, depending on the size of it and the state that you're in, it's like a fraction of what it is for a traditional sized house of 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 square feet. You might have a fuckload of regulations and rules about how you build it.
Let me break down for people. Number one is if you're going to do this tiny home strategy that I'm talking about, do them on wheels. It's called tiny homes on wheels because that makes them personal property rather than real property. That means that you get a title like for a car rather than dealing with building permits and all this other kind of stuff. Now there are permitting things depending on how you want your insurance to go with the tiny homes and all that, but it's way, way, way cheaper, which brings us to final point. So I don't like competition. So find a farm, do something where there's no zoning regulation that you're allowed to bring a bunch of tiny homes onto it and go, wow, I just took something. So my farm, by the way, I think I'm into it. I think probably like, I think I dropped like, it's been 2 years. I think shit.
What did you pay for it?
I know, I'm trying to remember. I think like 350, 330, 350, something like that. Let's call it 350. Because of everybody, because of COVID and everybody moving away from their homes and wanting to work remotely, in the 2 years, it's now at 880, which is pretty cool. So that's, you know, $500,000 in equity. But now take something and go, where can you buy an asset for $330,000, do some improvements on it, put a bunch of tiny homes and have an income coming in of $25,000 a month. That's $300,000 a year with no competition. So stop doing things that everybody else is doing and start thinking outside the box and do cool stuff, because it's a lot more fun.
I could completely agree that if you embrace complexity, there is a greater opportunity for reward, and there is no competition, because 99.9% of the market does not, they run away from complexity instead of embracing it and going and getting their hands dirty, as you mentioned it. Is that
last point then? I'll give you the last thing, and then you guys, and this one I hope you guys can really get your brain around, because if I were new in real estate, and again, so I hope I've kept my commitment to you guys that you haven't heard of any of this kind of stuff that I'm talking about, because it's weird and that's cool. But the last thing is this: people getting started in real estate are often told, well, get under 5 units, because 4 units or less is considered a residential, not a commercial purchase. So you can use FHA, VA, conventional, put 3 to 5% down, that kind of range. And you can actually start off with an asset that you're going to make some money with. And so everyone goes, oh, and they say the same damn thing. Well, I'll rent out 3 of the units and I'll live in the other one. Okay, that's what you're supposed to do. And that is stupidity. So the last thing that I want to talk to you guys about is, instead of chasing the market, make the market. And this is a level of badassery I hope you guys can get behind, because Steve Jobs didn't go, there's a really a market for this. He goes, I'm going to make the market for a smartphone. And then you've got everything. So let me tell you what I would do. Same scenario. Let's just talk through this for a second. And by the way, I'm doing this in Texas right now. So everything I talk about is not theoretical, because I hate that shit. I want to talk about real stuff. In Texas, there is a house. This wasn't a fourplex, but this is a house, 5-bedroom, 4-bath. So you go, oh, you could have some roommates and you could get some money coming in. No, it's called the hacker house, and it is intentional. So you have a cook that comes in and makes exactly the right kind of food you need to be in the best shape of your life. There's a massage therapist that comes in. There's a gym, there's a trainer. There is, you know, a workplace in the living room where it's like, this is where dreams happen. This is where you are going to be the best version of yourself. And people go, wait a minute, I don't have to cook. I don't have to clean. I don't have to think. I've got a massage person. I've got a sports trainer. I've got all this kind of stuff, and it's all built into this house. That changes your rent that someone's paying, you know, for a room. Let's say they were just living in the room and they say, well, I'll pay $600 a month. And then they have their share of the utilities. No. This changes it from $600 to $2,500 a month. Now you're pulling in $10,000 from a guild, because you're saying, let's combine our forces, have a shared experience, have some benefits from people. Oh, you don't need a car because we have a rental Tesla. Okay, cool. So you can just take the Tesla everywhere, and people start mathing out and they go, gosh, gym, massage, don't have to clean, have that, don't have to have a car, internet. I'm around people that are all kicking ass in their field and holding me accountable to this thing. Yeah, I'm in. So I would say, think about, you know, all right, and I'm going to preach for 5 seconds and then I'll be done. We're not bound together by culture. We're not bound together by religion. We've thrown all that away. We don't believe in family. We don't believe in God. We don't believe in any of that kind of stuff. Great, fine, whatever. The only thing that we have that actually has any cohesiveness and stickiness seems to be work, that we share a career that somebody else shares. So if you can be around people that are way leveled up in the field that you want to be in, you're going to become that person. And so if you go, okay, what would I pay for I got my own apartment, it's 1,200 plus cable, plus this, plus food, plus massage, plus a trainer, plus a gym, plus this. Okay, I'm out the door $1,700. And then you go, well, I can have all that done for me for 2,500. It starts to become a value proposition. So think in terms of guilds when you buy property rather than simply renting to people. Create some intentionality, add some perks to it, and you can make a hell of a lot of money. That's what I'm doing in Texas right now.
We had talked about that before. It's definitely a unique style for a certain type of person to do that kind of, to live in that type of environment, who appreciates those kinds of things. But the making it simpler for people and thinking outside of the box.
Let's say you're a bachelor and you get to move in with, a bunch of people that are multimillionaires and just be around that,
Yeah, exactly. So if it takes a certain individual who would appreciate those types of things. I don't know if that style would be for me, but like there's plenty of people who would be like, oh my God, that would be fucking phenomenal for me. I would love that. Kip, I want to acknowledge you for taking the time out of your day on Christmas Eve to share your story with us. Creating, $4 million of equity over the next 12 months if it takes us 12 months to go through that one project. And sharing the details with us, as well as some of those life lessons, I guess we can call them, that you've learned over, your 30 years plus of real estate investing.
Thank you for having me here. I mean, honestly, it's like, if I could, because I'll tell you, I mean, when you get real estate in your blood, it stays. And I hope some of you guys, it just got the sparks moving for you, that you go, you know what? That's cool. There's cool stuff. I could do that. I mean, so if anybody wants to reach out, do you want me to give my contact information?
Yes.
Here?
If somebody wants to touch base with you, how would be the easiest way for them to do that?
I mean, I would just probably send an email to kip@laughingtruth.com. That'd probably be the easiest way. I'm not on any of the socials other than TikTok. So,
and we'll put your email address down below and your TikTok down below. If anybody wants to check them out.
Yeah, you bet.
Sweet. Kip, thank you. I appreciate your time, and Merry Christmas.
Thank you for that. And you guys have a very Merry Christmas. Thanks, Sam.